This video is made possible by our patrons. Hello and welcome to Wargamer Online, and today we have a wonderful review of the Broken Realms Teclis and Lumineth Realmlords Battletome. This is pretty cool. This is Jack's main army.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I have spent the last, kind of yesterday, I just sat and just read the book. And I couldn't put it down. It was amazing. The Broken Realms, I am loving the Broken Realms. Feels like dream come true. I've had Morathi, and then I've had Teclis. It's amazing. I'm super happy.
It's all about the Broken Realms. I'm picking it up. It's right behind us.
Yeah.
It's all about Broken Realms. No, it's all about you.
It's all for me. It's all for me.
For
and
you,
that's
Father.
what matters.
Yeah, first and foremost, this is a live show to our patrons, but we'll be putting it up on YouTube afterwards for all of our YouTube followers to have a look at what we think to the book. So let's start with huge thank you to our patrons. We're here because of you, so that's much appreciated. Don't forget, if you're a patron, you can join us on the live chat as well. Just go along to the secret YouTube link, and that will get you in there. And we'll catch up with any questions you have as we go along. In the meantime, I think we should start looking into this book, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, well, we've got both of the books, but I think what we're going to do is park one of the books for now.
Yeah, I mean, so the new Battletome, I've had a quick flip through it, and if there's any lore changes, I can't see any. It's just a compilation of the old Battletome and the new stuff from Broken Realms Teclis. So if you want it all in one place, that's the book you need.
I think that's it. If you're starting Lumineth Realmlords for now, get this book, because it's got everything in.
Yep.
If you want some super cool lore and story around
so
Teclis,
good.
then get this book anyway.
Yep.
Whether you're starting new or not.
Yep.
If you already have the Lumineth Realmlords book, just buy Broken Realms Teclis. I know you're flipping two books, but most people use the iOS app now, so it's all in the app anyway.
Yeah.
So the idea of having to carry around two books, really, I think these are kind of more fantastic
and
lore.
Nice. Look how pretty it is.
Look
at the coating. It's so good.
That's the idea. You can just buy this if you've already got the book. You can buy this if you haven't got Lumineth Realmlord at all, and if you've been following the Broken Realms campaigns.
Yeah.
Get this anyway, because it's way more than just the Teclis Battle Scrolls.
I highly recommend you do, because there is some very good stories in both of the stories.
Yeah.
The Morathi one, which of course was the first, was amazing. I loved her ascension to godhood. You got a really cool insight into kind of the politics of the cities. The Ideneth Deakin in it as well were really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Voltornos. The other king that was in there, I can't remember his name now, but there was another Kellyan king in there. That was
and then you had all the Scourge privateers on the back of a massive kraken just going through the ocean. It was amazing, and this one has lived up to it as well.
For me, what tends to happen with these releases, though, unless you're kind of really into either the lore or into the campaigns, what tends to happen is a quick flip through. Get to the units and get to the battalions. What do I get out of it? Great, that makes my army more effective, which is fine. That's part of the hobby. That's absolutely cool. I noticed when Luke picked up Teclis,
he just went straight to the back page.
He just flipped straight to the back page and started looking at the battalions, and I just went, mate, you've just missed 9/10 of the value.
It's amazing. It is really good. The stories, shout out to the writing team and even the design team for the beautiful artwork that's in there. It is amazing.
Well, I was working, so you had the task of reading the book, so I'm going to play the idiot who doesn't know what's in there.
Yes.
You're going to play the guy that's read the book. What's funny is when sometimes you give Jack a book to read, and he's goes off and he comes back and says, yeah, it's good like this. Every 30 minutes he's running back in the room going, you won't,
gotta read you this extra act, it's so good.
You don't believe what's just happened. So we're going to talk a little bit about that before we look at the units. We are going to look at the units. We are going to look at the back of the book for sure. That's But we want to spend a bit of time on the front section, because for me, the narrative side of this book is awesome. So let's jump into it now. Right, here we go then. Let's start. I mean, we've not done a book review for a while, but as you can see,
it's a chunky
bit of book. And in fact, of course, now the Battletome itself is not exactly a thin book, because there's a hell of a lot of units in there. As ever, gorgeous artwork.
The artwork from the Lumineth Battletomes.
Fantastic. And then we're into the kind of, obviously, the contents page. Let's just briefly cover the size of what we're talking about. Page 152 when you hit the profiles.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much 152 pages, isn't it? Because you're at the back by then, aren't you?
I mean, there was, I think 58 pages of lore, then the rest of it. I mean, there is kind of lore scattered through it.
That was interesting, wasn't there? It kind of goes lore, rules, lore. Rules,
yeah, it does. It was a bit confusing, but it's kind of, because it's a Battletome update, they put everything to do with what's going to be put in the Battletome in one place, which I kind of understand.
This page got me excited.
This page is very interesting, and I think it's something really good. It kind of tells you about all the characters, the gods as well, but also the smaller characters that take part within this story. So you kind of got, Teclis, Archmage of Haish, Twin God of the Realm of Light, and it tells you about what each of the gods are and who's going to be involved in it. You got the minions of Nagash, but even down to kind of the smaller Nodrak the Snitch, which is a Spoilpox Scrivener that shows up, and you kind of get these really cool characters with their own personalities throughout it.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, it's good.
To me,
good
it's
page.
just an insane lineup of gods. Malarian, Elariel, Nagash, Tyrion, Teclis, and they come in and out the stories, don't they? Although some way more than others.
Yeah, I don't think. I think Malarian's mentioned. I don't think he's in the story.
Same with Tyrion. Let's get that out of the way now.
Tyrion, he's mentioned, but he's not in it. Yeah. But the mentioning of Tyrion is very interesting.
Alvanor, of course, big deal in this book as well, but we'll come into that. Right, Jack, look, besides...
this was one of my favourite artworks.
It's just beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's just Selenor looking up at the, sort of celestial heavens, isn't it? Just being super cool. I was two minds when the model first came out. And I have to say, the more that the artworks come out, and the more I've seen what people do with them painting, I'm completely in love with the model. I think it's amazing. It's absolutely
awesome
amazing.
Model.
And what's more so is you've kind of ran back and told me what Selenor gets up to in this story. I'm just like, Selenor's a beast.
He's hardcore.
That's super cool.
He is just a moon. It's brilliant.
What do you want to cover? Where do you want to jump in and out? Because, there's a lot to cover.
Okay, so a brief overview of what Broken Realms Teclis is about is, if anybody's seen the trailer, it's about Teclis striking back at Nagash for the atrocities he's committed, for the necroquake and the perversions he's been doing with souls. The idea is that when you die, your soul does go to Shaiish and it's a resting place, but instead Nagash the usurper is taking these souls and forming them into angry geists and fueling his armies.
He's messing around with it.
He's messing with it. He's not doing his job properly.
As far as Teclis
is concerned, of course, Nagash has a very different perspective. So this story is about Teclis striking back at Nagash and Nagash striking back at Teclis. Kind of a clash between gods. So, in a brief overview, it starts off with a Geist attack on Settlers Gain, which is one of the new cities in Haish. Right. And it's a place where Teclis brought his illumination to humans. So he brought the knowledge of magics, and it's kind of the birthplace of the Colgate Arcana and the illuminations and the steps of Teclis to enlightenment. And Geists end up attacking it. And Teclis just goes in there and says no. There's this kind of crazy bit where all the Geists are pouring in, and there's kind of, there's humans and there's Lumineth there in garrisons, and they're fighting back, but they're getting pushed back. And then Selenor appears, and he's kind of just emanating this aura of light, and as he's moving through, the Geists are evaporating near him as he's just moving through, because he's pure magic. And a black coach comes screeching forwards towards him, because it's forward, and I forgot what it says, but it's a single word, a name that can move mountains.
So Selenor says. sees the black coach coming towards him and says a single word.
Yeah, and it's a name that can move mountains, and he says Teclis. And then Teclis appears, and it's kind of this huge, he does his searing beams of white light and just destroys everything around him and kind of manages to save Settlers Gain.
I don't want to jump too much to the end, but I think this book, from the excerpts you've read to me, shows both the absolute power of the Pantheon.
Yes.
Of all the gods, of Nagash, of Teclis. I mean, this is the thing, is Teclis comes into play.
Oh,
and he's a mega player, isn't he? This is the thing. He's no fear of Nagash.
No.
He just
goes for it.
In fact, actually, there's a great bit in there where basically Selenor has told Teclis what his doom is.
Yes.
And it's not to die at the hand of Nagash.
Yeah. No.
So he's walking around like a dog.
Yeah, he does. It's really good. Yeah, because after this, it cuts to an extract of it's like a Horror Knight, one of the Nighthaunt, who's like crawling up the steps of Nagash. You can barely look at Nagash, and Nagash is questioning what's happened, and then behind him Teclis just appears in Nagash's throne room and just has a chat with him for a bit, and you get this really cool extract where they're calling each other by their old world names, because of course they've known each other for aeons.
Yeah.
Before
the time
is calling him by his mortal name, and Nagash is calling him Teclis of Ulthwan and stuff like that, and you kind of get this. Something that you haven't really had in the books that much is this conversation between gods. And Nagash is threatening to destroy his empire, and he'll destroy Teclis, and Teclis is like, I already know I'm going to die one day, but Selenar's assured me it's not going to be by you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get this kind of really cool bit as they're questioning each other.
I just want to, this is an example of where we get the narrative playing out between the gods, because this is in the void between Teclis and Alarielle, just having a chat, and this is what you get a real a real sense of the gods at
play.
They're intervening directly in what's happening.
They
in the
are
realms,
active players, and they will march at the front of their armies, and that's what's really cool about it. So in this you have Teclis talking to Alarielle. He kind of does an astral projection, and he's kind of talking to her, and Alarielle's kind of saying, we have to be careful. Spring is coming, and soon we'll be okay. Time's on our side, and they're calling each other sister and brother, and it's really interesting to kind of have the gods as people that talk to each other and stuff, and have feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that to me brings the characters to life, doesn't it? That they're not just play pieces on the table, when you kind of get a sense of the power play between them. And we're already coming up with a whole bunch of narrative play. We've got to do this, and we've got to do that match, and we need to do this, and and I quite like it that's. At the end of the day, that's what these campaign books are about: is to try and inform, a narrative. For you to kind of put a narrative play together in this Broken Realm scenario. Okay, so we've got basically Teclis essentially deciding Nagash has overstepped his bounds.
Yeah, and that's Act 1. So that's when Teclis actually takes an army of Lumineth and marches into Shyish.
Right.
And I don't want to take too much, don't want to give too much away, but it is a very good extract line. You see the Lumineth magics at work, and the geomantic magics of the Alarith. As they kind of attack a city. You've got the mountain goats
and the geomantic stuff is they're literally making floating islands as castles. They're just floating in.
The Ossiarch Bone Reapers form this kind of impenetrable wall of bone, this brigade of catapults, and Teclis goes, okay, and just gets 3 islands and floats them and takes them over the top.
Which is just insane.
So that's the first act, which is Teclis striking back at Nagash for incursioning upon Shyish.
And then we go into Act 2, the War of the Mortars.
Yeah, so this is where Nagash has told his 3 foremost Mortarks, so Archon the Black, Nephrata, and Manfred, to go to the realms and spread death, get footholds in each of the realms.
Yeah.
So Manfred von Karstein goes to Gairan, Nephrata goes to Shaman, and Arkan the Black goes to Haish. And you kind of get an extract in each of them and the battles they have to do during, and you get these beautiful maps, and it kind of tells you what's happened. So this is in Invadia, which is a realm in Gairan. You kind of got these toxic irrigation, and you can see how the world's being transformed by Nurgle.
That's mental.
But yeah, it's like really cool because, again, if you're doing like campaigns and stuff, they're really useful. You know, even if you're not doing campaigns from the book, you're making one up yourself, you can kind of base it on the maps and you can have these places.
And of course we've got some stuff carrying over from the old world to the new world here, aren't we? Because we've got old rivalries between... Is it Manfred who... No.
Manfred, as far as I'm aware, he entrapped Tyrion and Alariel's daughter, and like bled her to use her magics.
Yeah.
So when Manfred marches into Gairan, he sends his armies out, and he's having like this massive problem dealing with all the Nurgle there. He's having to keep the Nurgle back as they're trying to construct this realm gate. And then Alariel marches.
And it's important to mention here, I'm really hoping for Broken Realms, Alariel, please,
because when you hear about her
so
in
good
this,
in this,
it's amazing.
She's so good in this. I'd love her to reflect that. I'd love some extra, some extra fluff into the army. So she's quite present in this narrative.
Yeah, so I think the idea is in Gairan, spring's coming around, and of course winter's fading and spring's coming, so Alariel's coming to her power and her anger, and she is angry and wrathful like nature
and this
itself.
is the thing, as a Sylvaneth player, I'm just hoping that is like portents to new rules coming, because I just want to see the
Sylvaneth book.
A new Sylvaneth book would be amazing. But we'll just have to see. But certainly the narrative of Alariel, there is a lot of hints that something is coming, definitely for Sylvaneth. And it may be a lot, it may not be, you never know.
I mean, this is the thing, she doesn't play a major role in the book. You have a bunch of conversations between Teclis and Elenaria, and she does play a major role in the Gairan, and that's kind of one of her things. The Lumineth aren't part of the Gairan incident. It is just Alariel and Sylvaneth that march. Yeah. And she's doing this whole thing as she like seeds the ground, and an entire army of dryads appears. She marches on her Wardroth, and she ends up like fighting with a bunch of zombie dragons.
It's just
and it's very good.
Yeah. So, go on, carry on anyway.
I was going to say, so the next Mortar arc, which is Nephrata, goes to Shimon, and she's under a mountain trying to create a portal again. And through one way or another, again, because I don't want to give too much away, the twin elves get wind of it, and they march down there with the Temple of Halarith.
Here we see it. Look, in terms of there's Nephrata and there's the two twins.
Yeah, and they're really cool. They are very much like a role play couple in which you have this Caradron who knows them just because she met them in a bar type thing, because they're wanderers and information gathering.
You get a real sense of like...
it's a very much like a role-play aesthetic where they meet each other in a tavern.
An adventure that started in Bree, basically.
Yeah, very much like that.
So you've got these two Lumineth twins who wander the lands, interacting with all factions of Order, basically.
Yeah.
And meet up with a Caradron Overlord Admiral.
Yeah, and the Admiral's a cartographer, so she's a map maker. And it's really cool that as well, because you get to see the other sides of the Caradrons.
And now, of course, I want to do that as my Admiral.
Yeah, as a cartographer.
Just cartographer drawing maps.
Not like a war. She's just got like this small fleet, and she's just got maps everywhere.
Because originally my KO fleet was going to be like a fishing fleet, and I'm like, no, now I want cartographers.
Yeah, they
telescopes everywhere,
they map
measuring
the realms.
equipment.
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool. She's got like this one ironclad, and they end up finding out about Nephrata, and they tell the twins. They march down there with an Alarith temple, and they battle Nephrata. And again, I'm not going to give it away for anybody who wants to read it, but it's a very cool battle. Very cool.
That's cool. Thomas Backhouse has just joined us. Hello, gents. Hello, Thomas. How are you, man? We're working through the fluff at the moment. We will get to the rules. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. If you're watching this not live on YouTube and you're wondering how are there people live in the YouTube, it's because we did a live show for our patrons, and this is essentially just put up to YouTube afterwards. Right, where were we?
So yeah, this is all.
This is all the Nephrata section, and then you're into the.
And then you've got Arkan the Black, who marches on Haish, and in this again, he's trying to establish a realm gate in Haish to pour the armies of Shaish through, and of course it ends up going a bit wrong, and you have this awesome showdown between the Light of Eltharion and Arkan the Black. And again, these two demigod deities with backstory to each of them, because if people don't know, Eltharion was destroyed by Arkan in the old world by his Curse of Years, which is why he has to be a spirit in the armour. Teclis keeps trying to make a physical body for him, but every time he does, he just turns to ash.
Yeah.
So he binds his soul into armour. And there's this awesome showdown between Eltharion and Arkan the Black. And again, they aren't gods, but they are godlike in their power.
Just insane.
And you get this awesome... Here it is, the extract there.
It's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's a real, 300 scene, isn't it?
Yeah. He's like calling him like a former echo of revenge and stuff like that. And Eltharion's just having none of it.
And I love this section here, and slight spoilers if you don't want to know, look away, because I think it hints a little bit about how some of these battles work out. But this tableau of fate, where we see Nephrata fighting underneath the realms against the mountain spirit. We have Alariel and
the zombie dragon,
and it's Von Carstein, and the zombie
retreating through a portal.
Just check her out, man. She's just bossing her way around with a spear. And then, of course, we've got Eltharion
versus Arkan.
Just absolute amazing sort of little summary of that section. And then we're into Act 3, which is Clash of the Gods.
And this is where it all kicks off. So, a brief overview of Act 3. This is where Nagash has enough, and he comes through the portal into Haish. And it's insane, just this idea, just a god appears, and they're all just like, oh my god, what are we going to do? And he basically ends up trying to destroy Mount Alvanor. He begins making the mountain crumble into nothing, and of course the armies are scattered everywhere, and this is the problem. The Lumineth are all out on their own missions, and the main force of Lumineth are still in Shaish trying to get back from their incursion, and as they're doing so, Alvanor's with them, and as they're doing so, his avatar's form's crumbling to dust. And it turns out, Nagash is trying to sacrifice him to create a rift into Haish.
He's literally trying to kill a mountain.
To sacrifice the mountain.
Yeah. I just want to jump back because Thomas Backhouse has said Eltharion is a serious bone to pick with Arkan. I know it's spoilers, but I just can't resist here. At High Sedge they fought, their blows driven by an enmity steeped in eons. There no mortal creature could have bested the Lich of Nagash. Light was no mortal, and death had little hold upon him. The Mortarch fell that day, and the 10 paradises were freed from the ancient curse forevermore. It's amazing. And the great thing about that section is, I say it's a spoiler, but the first thing you do then is you go back and go, what? What happened?
What?
And it's all amazing. In there. It's all in there in great detail, and that's what I love about it. Sorry, jumping back then.
Well, no, so Nagash ends up trying to sacrifice Mount Alvanor.
Yeah.
And there's nothing they could do. The Lumineth are trying to march up the mountain, but they can't because it's crumbling around them. The Alarith are getting up before them, but they're descending into fear. And he's got like a Bone Reaper armies protecting him. And then Teclis appears just at the top of the mountain. And again, you have this extract between the two of them as they talk to each other. And then they begin fighting.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. Two gods going at each other.
And it's what's called War on the Peak, because the two gods are at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, they're at the top of the mountain.
And everybody else is desperately trying to basically aid their gods.
Yeah.
And this is what I like about it. I mean, we just want to focus in on this bit for a second, because, two gods facing off is no easy task. And you think, well, what are the mortals going to do? What are the foot soldiers going to do? But the whole point of this story, the whole weave of this narrative is the gods are essentially equal.
Yeah.
They're just battling away. They're doing a great deal of harm to each other, yeah? The tipping of the scale is who's got the better support troops, essentially. Who's going to wade in and help out.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's because, and what I was going to say about kind of the Tyrion stuff, if you go back one page, you've kind of got this extract here where Nagash is talking to Teclis, and what gets very interesting is, my brother fights in his own way, said Teclis, against a foe far deadlier than you. And Nagash says, there is no such being, and begins the fight. But who's that? Who's deadlier than Nagash, and who's Tyrion fighting?
Yeah.
It mentions earlier about Tyrion might awaken the dragon. Like, what dragon? GW, what dragon? Please tell me.
By the way, I know probably somebody's mentioned this before, but I love the fact that
Nagash is in capitals.
In uppercase.
Yeah.
And like Death is in all Terry Pratchett books, by the way.
Yep. Yep. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Games Workshop, paying homage to such a great author.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it, but the battle ensues, and it is just brilliant.
Yeah.
These two gods locked in battle against each other. They end up like teleporting each other to demi-planes. They engaged in sword combat for a bit. There's kind of the magic of each other as they're blasting each other. At
one point, Nagash summons three
purple sons of Shaiish
simultaneously.
And just shoots it at him.
Yeah. Just amazing.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that this narrative story leans in heavily to what comes in the next section in the rules. So all of those sort of the battalions that come out, etc.,
they were
all have
from
relevance.
This,
yeah, brilliant.
Especially the missions as well. All the missions are from the battles in this, so you can actually play this out.
And then we've got this fantastic sort of epilogue between Alarielle and Teclis.
After the battle's done, you end up having Teclis kind of doing this astral projection to Alarielle, and they have a conversation with each other, kind of about the future of the realms and what's going to happen. And they kind of says, light and life as it shall always be. And they kind of have, whilst they disagree with each other's actions, they have a moment where Alarielle understands the necessity that Teclis had to do what he had to do. Type thing. Alarielle doesn't agree with how brash he acted in fighting against
she kind of
Nagash.
berates his arrogance as well. She sort of said, at least your people aren't as arrogant as you, is one of the greatest lines. And he kind of smirks because he knows she's actually saying, yes, they are. But I'm going to kind of let you off.
You have this kind of like, there is this brotherly, sisterly squabble between the two of them.
Absolutely.
And then it kind of, ends with them agreeing that they will help each other in the battle against the darkness to come. Because, of course, all of this, or everything that Teclis is doing is because he needs to destroy chaos. And Nagash was just something in the way of chaos and stuff like that. It's something to weaken them before chaos attacked. And he understood that he had to deal with this now. Otherwise, the realms would break and chaos would see this as an opportunity.
One of my favourite lines, by the way, and again, this is as a Sylvaneth player, is that they're essentially talking about the darkness to come. No doubt the continuation of the Broken Realms, as we see. This is kind of like End Times without the End Times, isn't it?
It's
just brilliant.
Good.
I love it. But there's a line in here that he kind of says, yet the war against greater darkness remains to be fought. And it says, it was Alarielle then who tipped her head. I have more ways to fight them than you realise.
Yes! Come on, Alarielle!
Come on,
do
new
something.
book, new models, come on.
Yeah, come on, let's do this.
We'll see. I'm too excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it ends. So, I have said it is amazing. The book is brilliant. The lore is brilliant. They're just mind-blowing.
Okay, we're into the rules section. The campaign is pretty cool. There's a whole bunch of sections. The Storm of Geist, Across the Plains, The Reality Soars, All That Glitters, A Fate Postponed, A Clash of Gods. These are all armies that you can play within.
So each of the sections in the book has a battle to do with it.
Yeah.
So if you and your mates want to play this out, then go for it. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it is army dependent, of course.
Of course, yeah, you're going to need the armies, but
it's brilliant. I love it.
you know, I think that's great, isn't it? If you're not happy about Altharion giving Arkan a kick, play it out.
Replay it. Yeah.
Play it out. Make it.
The
Make
realms
it
are yours to do as you will. You're getting these new sub-realms to fight, which is kind of cool. So you got the Realm of Battle, Praetoris, Shaiish, so the land of the Ossiarch Bone
Yeah,
Reapers.
and interesting Streets of Death section there.
Yes.
Little bits of rules for barricades. If units within 1 inch of a barricade at the start of its movement phase and there's no enemy units within 6 inch, that unit can knock the barricade down instead of making a normal move. If they do so, remove the barricade. So interacting with the terrain on the table.
Yeah, so if you want to do city fighting in Sigmar, you can do.
Bricks and stones. You just pick them up, lob them at people.
Yeah.
Even better. So, you know, pick up one enemy unit within 6 inch of the building and roll a dice. On a 5 up, the enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Lob, lob,
It's
lob.
really cool. So that's kind of, I think that rules is used for the Geis one at the very beginning where they attack the city. It's really cool. New way to play. And again, you're getting all these new like sub realms to play on, and you can and again, if you're doing your campaign and you want to have a battle take place in Yemetka, then you can. There's now rules to do that.
I love this NVIDIA thumb-sized mosquitoes.
Yes, yeah.
They
do actually mention that as Manfred is marching through kind of the Nurgle corruption. There are like mosquitoes that are draining his blood but just exploding because, you know, vampire blood.
Very, very cool stuff. So a lot of, you know, again, you know, if you get this book or if you're wondering, you know, is Broken Realms worth it? I think these things have as much value as you're prepared to put into them. Play the games, use the realm rules, try them out, play narrative games. And I get it. If competitive play is your thing, then just do the competitive play. Just get the rules out the back. Extend your army out that way. That's all cool. But there's a lot of big fun to do.
Yeah, if you want to do something different with your mates and you've both got an army from here and you think it'll be really cool, then yeah, do it. It's like a new way. And sure, it's probably not the most balanced thing in the world, but it's fun. And of course, I mean, one thing that I wanted to mention is you can do that.
The Clash of
you
the
can
Gods.
have the Clash of the Gods.
Which is just, you've got this central objective.
Yep.
Then you've got the Synthari and Ynnari, you've got the Huracan, you've got the Zintil
War Mages.
and Alarief territory, and
So
then
you've
Ossiarch Bone.
Yeah, you've got like this convergence of all the allies of Haiish into one place, and they're trying to hold them back.
Which is just awesome. And then, you know, some great stuff. You know, first set up Teclis and Nagasha, they're within 3 inch of each other at the centre of the battlefield. No other units can be set up within 3 inch of Nagasha or Teclis. You just like plonk.
Yeah, and they're just fighting each other. Yeah.
Love it. Great stuff. Battletome updates then, folks. Tom just saying, great to know you guys love my favourite author. Yep. I think I've got a Terry Pratchett calendar just above my hobby desk right now. Right, okay then. So, Battletome updates, dude. What do you want to pick out? There's quite a bit in here, isn't there?
Quite a bit. There's some smaller things and some bigger things. This is one for me. I know some of these have been leaked, but new Nurgle rules. So this is an extra bit of excitement. Sloppity Bile Pipers and the Spoilpox Scrivener having new rules because they weren't that great for a while. The Sloppity Bile Piper now gets to sing songs as he's going around, and it does gives your army benefits as he's singing, and the names to those songs are brilliant.
Yeah. And I'm not 100% certain at the moment because we've been trying to work it out. I think I immediately thought it was Douglas Adams.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit.
I don't think it is. I think it's Blackadder Season 1. A Stabbing We Will Go. Early one evening, my pustule was seeping. I'm sure there is a romance song in Blackadder 1. And it's like early one morning, my lover doth something.
Yeah.
So, and my love is like a ripe fart. I'm pretty certain. that is Blackadder. Not directly, but yeah. And this is what I love about the Games Workshop guys is when you find little hints to your favourite pop culture that's in there. It's like, and of course I definitely need to track that down now. But I've come back round to, I think it's definitely Blackadder Season 1.
Yeah.
Maybe I think it might be Season 2 actually, because it was more that era.
Someone will know out there.
Yeah. Okay, so that's his Jolly Gut Pipes, isn't
rules.
it? Yeah.
And actually, you know, they're quite good. Add 1 to attacks, mortal wounds, cannot finish a piling close to them, so you can stop piling because the demons are farting. That's never something to scoff at. So you've now got ways to like add one to attacks with Sloppity Bilepipers, but you can also add one to attacks from the Spoilpox Scriveners, and you can like add one rend, add one save. So you're adding these new ways to make your armies better. So I'm thinking like plague drones. Yeah. I am definitely going to be running a 9-man plague drone army and just tying up an entire army with them forever. When they're on like a 4-up save unrendable with a 4-up ignore, and they're getting like 4 extra attacks because why not? It's fun.
Throw your little sword masters at those.
Throw whatever you want at them. They're not going anywhere. Some really good rules for Nurgle, kind of fixing some of the poorer units in the army.
Sure. Then we're into Cities of Sigmar.
Yes.
Now, this is directly relevant to the Battle of the Peak, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what's so exciting about this. Is this entire thing is based around that. So in this battle, the Luminarchs don't have glass lenses.
They have Aether Quartz lenses.
They have Aether Quartz lenses, which gives them a little bit of extra.
Extra. Yeah, it's the Beacon of Intellect is the Luminarch's name.
Right.
So if you want to base something off there, you can write it on there somewhere. It's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it kind of makes the beam a lot better. You can re-roll the dice to see if it does mortal wounds, and the Aura of Protection. Add one to the roll that determines if the wound or mortal wound is negated. It gives it a 5-up ignore aura for the Luminarch, and that is not something to scoff at. That is very good.
Yeah. It's very, very cool. Thomas is just saying he thinks it might be season 3 of Blackadder when the prince is singing his love on the balcony, something about sausages, but we've gone off topic. I think there was an end credit scene in season 2. That's what I think it is, and it's when he's fallen in love with Bob. When Blackadder falls in love with Kate or Bob. I can't quite remember.
Oh,
Kate or Bob. Yeah, anyway.
Same thing. You've got a new city to play, and you're kind of seeing this quite a lot in the new Broken Realms book, which is really nice. So this city, what's special about this is you can take Lumineth Realm Lords with it. In the Marathi one, you could take Daughters of Cain with it. So it's quite cool in which you're getting more and more cities which kind of are able to add other things to it. So it's like it's constantly getting updates because you can now build this menagerie of an army. If you're a collector and you want a bit of everything, do Cities of Sigmar, because you can just put a bit of every army with it.
That's always been the appeal for City, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just build your own thing, and I think it's like Cities, you can just get the kits out of the box if you want, but like Coleman, who's one of our patrons, he's heavy dwarf focused and stuff like that, so his Luminarch is based on the back of a steam cannon, and his Huracanum is on the back of a steam cannon, so there's no horses, there's just like steam cannons playing it, and stuff like that, and it's beautiful, and that's what's great about Cities, isn't it? You can kind of just, it's a converter's dreamland really to play with.
There's a bunch more kind of smaller War Scroll battalions, some for Flesh Eaters, some for OCR, and again, it's all just things that appear throughout the campaign.
Yeah, and nothing's huge. The Crypt Horrors with the Arbor and Archregent means you don't have to take Battle Shot within 12 inches.
It's not great. I mean, you get a command ability. What does that say?
Once per battle, the general can use his Ravenous Crusaders command ability without a command point being spent. I've seen that a couple of times in this book, actually. A way of doing stuff without spending... No, it's the terrain that allows Lumineth to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool and all, but I think he gets to do that anyway if he's on the charnel throne. So, I mean, maybe it's like, you can have him on foot doing it, and then if you've got another one on there, so you're getting bunch of ghouls in the first.
You say that though, but the interesting thing is it says you can do the ability without spending a command point. If you're up against Lumineth, who are making you spend 2 command points for everything, it's actually saving you 2 command points. So
you're right.
Abilities like that have some value in this, shifting meta for sure. Right, then we're into the Lumineth Realm Lords.
Very good.
Lots and lots of, as we said, you don't necessarily need the Battletome, because it isn't just the War Scrolls. They have gone into, there's fluff here, isn't there? There's the kind of background to the armies. and to the different units, talking about Elenaria and is it Elephor?
Yeah.
Very, very cool. I just love how they their interaction within the game. By the way, wicked haircut. Nice one. Nice.
I know.
Nice.
That's like mohawk.
Like to see the Helves.
And you're getting like this beautiful artwork for them all, kind of these shining alpacas. That's what I'm going to call them. I really like them. I think they're really
great.
cool.
They look great.
You get this beautiful with the
great.
Sanctity lights around it protecting the ballistas.
Yeah.
And the ballistas look amazing.
I know.
The Helian archers on the kangaroos, which with the samurai-esque bows.
Yeah, and even their helmets, aren't they? They've got a real kind of samurai feel to them.
This is what I kind of like about the Lumineth, is they've got all these different what's the word I'm looking for? Like origins behind each of the nations, so you can see in real history where they've drawn inspiration from it. So with the wind, they are obviously very kind of Japanese, Asian inspired. You got these samurai bows and these fox-faced spirits of the winds, which is just straight out of a manga. I mean, look at that. That is amazing.
Super cool.
Just a beautiful piece of artwork there.
Yeah,
and he's bringing the desert storms with him.
Just peppered with arrows. Like, oh, this has all gone wrong, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That dude's definitely having a bad day, look.
Yeah.
It was all going well until that went straight through. He got his axe, he got his armour, he was looking pretty hench.
But no.
And then, no.
Just got an arrow.
Game over, man. Game over. Incredible painted up armies.
Yeah.
And again, you can see how brilliant this model is on the game, on the table. I'm
quite tempted to buy 10 of them.
And then, of course, we're into the kind of section which, covers painting and model showcase and all the rest. But just looking fantastic, aren't they? They all just, there's nothing new here for anyone. What would you like to cover out of the back? We're not going to do every single page. But...
yeah. I mean, there's bits and bobs. So you've now got command traits and artifacts for Venari. Because of course you can now take the Lord Regents on their alpacas, that's what I'm going to call it. So you've got all sorts there that can be cool, like, Bearer starts about with 1 extra Aether Quartz reserve, nice, nothing bad with more Aether Quartz. Reroll 1 hit or wound roll for the attack or 1 save roll, so again, not bad. You've got this Scenari thing now. Where they've now got a battle trait because there's more scenarii, where they get to, like, instead of casting a spell, they can decide to contemplate about casting a spell, and then next turn they can automatically cast a spell on a 9, which is pretty good. If you're not in range to cast any spells or you have nothing good to do, then instead of, throwing out that Mystic Shield, which isn't going to do anything and it's not, then you can decide, actually, you know what, I'm going to save this, I'm going to contemplate, and then next turn I'm going to cast it on a 9. It's going to be really good. And
to have an army that you just think, oh, that's not going to do anything anyway.
Let's just
I
do
dream
something
of
else.
getting a Mystic Shield off.
Then you've got the Hurricane stuff. So this is the new battle traits, and of course I think everybody's seen the move with the wind, the ability for Hurricane to flow round when they do pile-ins. They can pile out of combat, they can pile in 6 inches when they make a charge.
So let's just go through the actual rule. When you make a pile-in move with a Hurricane model, it does not have to finish its move as least as close to the nearest enemy. So in other words, it can go any direction with its pile-in.
Yeah, and it can pile. It can
In
fly.
addition, when you make a pile-in move with a Hurricane model, if you've had made a charge move in the same turn, it can fly and move an extra 3 inch when it piles in.
Yeah, so you're kind of getting this whole thing where, sometimes you can pile out of combat to protect them, or you can charge in and flow over the top onto objectives.
It's interesting they've added the designer's note here, just to clarify what they're trying to say. And it's, this rule allows Hurricane models to flow around the enemy units in combat.
Yeah.
And back off from fights that do not favour them.
Yeah, I think they've done really good with the use of designer's notes in this. It really clears things up and on release, if you get me. So they've done it with quite a few things, and I think it's a really good idea.
Anything you picked up from the spell lore? Anything interesting?
Apart from Teclis now knowing 6 more spells, because that's what he needed. You finally got a teleport spell.
Finally.
Brilliant.
Yeah, you need it.
You've got a healing spell. I think it's the Calming Zephyr. You can like stop runs. Cannot benefit from command abilities. Yes. Guiding flow, so you can guide missiles and make those 30-man archer blocks better, because that's what the 30-man archer blocks needed. The 30-man archer blocks now need to be 36-inch on their range, because yes. And I think that's about like Burning Storms, which can do a mortal wound.
If the spell loft missiles until your next hero phase, add 6 to the range characteristics.
There is also one that does a bunch of like mortal wounds based on the models in the unit on a 6, but if you cast it on a 10, you do it on a 5, and Teclis casts everything on a 10, so he's always doing it on a 5, which is really good.
Ba-chow.
There's now so much to choose from. I love it. What's there to complain about?
We'll talk a little bit about where you think this leaves the army at the end of this. I think that's worth having. I'm conscious of time. You don't really want the show to run on for more than an hour, really, which only gives us 8 minutes, but we'll do another 10-15 minutes. Shrine Lumineth, I like it.
Brilliant terrain piece, ability to do command abilities without needing to spend command points. I don't think it's that big of a deal, because there's not a lot of command abilities that are good in the army. I mean, like Teclis doesn't even have his own command ability. But what are you going to do?
Poor Teclis.
Yeah, poor Teclis. So there's like, there are things that can be done from it. But I don't think it... The once per turn reroll 1 casting, dispelling, or unbinding roll's really good.
Well, I'm assuming there's no cost to it, because it's
so.
a scenery war scroll, and what you're essentially doing is you are giving a character the ability to use a command point without spending it. Yeah. You're giving them cover, and you're giving them a once per turn 12-inch
to use their command ability
to use it. So
and add 12.
You pay nothing for it.
Yeah.
It's
nothing to complain about.
And off you go. Bish bash bosh.
2 more Great Nations. So you got a Luminia, which allows 3 units to make moves before the battle begins, which is really cool for like Dawn Riders. If you want to get that alpha charge on a Dawn Rider unit, then you can move them up.
Yeah.
If you need to reposition a unit, then it's good. And then Helion, which is add 1 to the attack characteristics of missile weapons used by Helion models that are within 3 inches of an enemy unit. So they kind of get like Legolas shooting in combat, which is really cool. How useful it will be, I'm 50-50 on, because I think if your archers are in combat, they have to survive a round of combat to utilize that ability, and archers being in combat normally don't survive combat that well.
I see your point.
We'll see.
I see your point. But even so, that's the whole point. If you manage to keep 2 or 3 models, then that extra attack from those 2 or 3 models in your subsequent shooting phase is worth something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, what else have we got? We've got a couple of scenarios, a couple of battle plans in there. The Scouring Wind.
Updates to Path to Glory.
Updates to Path to Glory, which we tend to skip over, but, one day we will start covering Path to Glory, I think.
There's an interesting battalion I wanted to talk about, which was the Hurricane Temple. So that's a wind avatar, a wind mage, and 1 to 3 units of wind chargers. What you get from this, if you are wholly within 12 of a hero from the same battalion at the start of the combat phase, the models in that unit count as having made a charge move in that turn. What that means is they can pile in 6 inches. You know how I feel about 6-inch pile-ins. I think they're amazing. You can also just move 6 inches in the turn.
Nice.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, well, mobility was an issue for this army, so...
Yeah.
Right. What war scrolls do you want to have a look at? That we'll not cover them all. Let's pick out a couple.
Some of the cool... I mean, Lord Regents are pretty cool. You've now kind of got this character which can...
go on.
Lead your armies. So you've kind of got this strong combat character now, and you've got Lyraria Uthali, who's the named one, the Warden of Nemetica.
Okay, so
it's called, you've got this idea of the Great Power of Haish, where they can empower D3 units blades, which allows those units to then cast their own spells, which are quite cool. So I think they'll definitely find a place in the army.
Cool. Anything else?
I mean, the ballista. Oh, the ballista's good. Got some long range.
Let's have a look at this.
It's not like the army needed long range firepower, but we've now got more long range firepower. Really cool abilities in kind of their flashbang bolts, in which they can blind units once per game. But they're just nice as character snipers, take down constructs, things like that. So I like them.
Vile business. What else?
You've got the Law Seeker, which is quite interesting. So he's kind of like a lone agent which can arrive on the battlefield 3 inches from an enemy. So I think he'd become quite good as like a character assassinator. As he can arrive within 3 inches of an enemy, charge in on that turn, and he's like not bad attacks, especially with the
three's -2. The -2 rend is always good. It's only 2 attacks though, so
that's his range.
You know,
and then he gets
that's
4
his
attacks
range one,
in
but then
combat.
4s at 2s and 3s is much better. With a -1 rend is all right, but it's again 4 attacks on 2s and 3s -1 D3 damage is all right.
Yeah, so he might be able to take down like, you know, support heroes at the back. So I'm thinking like, you know, like Goblin heroes, Hag Queens, things like that.
And then he's nasty enough to not necessarily be able to ignore him.
No.
You're going to have to do something
Still
about
got
him,
magic. So he's really nice.
Cool.
I thought he was very good. And then what's next? Okay, Elenaria and Elephor. We should probably talk about these two. So as most people will know, they can go in any army, any order army. You've got Altari, which is his big sword, and it kind of gets better as the game goes on. But and then they have like this teleport thing where if he gets wounded, he heals wounds and teleports away, because I think it's his sister like ends up having to try and protect him, and they kind of teleport away, heal up, and then come back again.
I mean, the damage characteristics of his weapon, which is 2s to hits, 3s to wound, -2 rend, is equal to the number of the current battle round.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an expensive unit to keep out of trouble for all of the game, but you could certainly hang back for turns 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then you're in at damage 3, damage 4, damage 5.
Yeah, her spell gives her 5 up to ignore, so you're kind of, 3 up save, 5
8
up
wounds
ignore,
between the two of them.
healing D6 wounds if they get wounded. It's not
Yeah.
bad. It's not bad.
What kind of points do they sit at?
I can't quite remember. We'll have a look.
We'll pick that up at the end, yeah.
The wind chargers are interesting, and kind of the wind mage, super fast light skirmish cavalry with 3s -1/1 damage bows. So
14-inch
nice.
move. They're all over the table. Do these guys? These guys, of course, have the pile-in as well. That ability.
Yeah. So
but
these
all
are,
of the Hurricane. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the Hurricane. The wind mages makes it like a 16-inch move and fly. So you kind of got this nice symbiosis between the two of them, where the wind mage is flying around with them as they're kind of moving around, like sniping characters and stuff. Just being a general pain in the backside to most people.
And the wind mage, of course, is on his little.
I think they called it a djinn.
Yeah, they called it a wind djinn or something like that, didn't they?
It doesn't say there, but in kind of the stories, it says he summons his wind djinn and does his monkey flying around.
Monkey magic.
Ooh. I mean, I love the models to these things, and the rules are even better. 24-inch move. That's the first thing.
Boom.
24-inch move.
Why not?
The way I see.
Hey, why not give them fly? Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course they fly. The way I see these models is they are very much character assassinators. They're not. I mean, the damage output isn't that great.
They're not bad. Oh,
4 shots, 2s, 3s. I mean, the -3 D3 damage. They're not going to do like horrific amounts of damage, but they're good at removing characters at the back of the board.
Oh, definitely.
Moving up 24 inches, shooting, and then they can just
range.
move 12 inches at the end of the shoot range. So they like move up, shoot, move back.
Yeah.
You've got the symbiosis where they can heal wounds when they're near wind mages. They get 5 up ignore. They can do this really cool thing where they just charge in, make somebody -1 to hit for a turn, and then they can pile out of combat. So he can do that. He gets the thing, because he is Sevrieth, he's the named one, he gets the desert winds that follow him. So as he moves over people, he can do mortal wounds to them. And he can also destroy terrain. Which, you know.
Well, he was lacking in tricks.
Yeah, the ability to destroy terrain is
It's just an
very
incredible.
good.
It's an incredible army. It's so much choice to this army.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Do we want to talk about the light callers or the
I think they've been out
purifiers?
for a while.
Yeah. Oh, of course, that's the
Warband.
Warband. Let's just have a quick look at points. We'll not pull it up, but some of the stuff we've talked about then. So we're looking at
Sevrieth coming in at 300 points, which is acceptable for what he does.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? In the current meta, that's okay. When you compare him against Drycha, for instance, then Drycha's seriously underpowered then, isn't she? You know, compared.
Yeah, I mean...
And Drycha's not bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm just
bad.
sort of saying he can do a hell of a lot.
Yeah, he can do. He's got a lot of utility, but if he gets caught out, he does go down. He's like 10
Yeah,
points.
and it's not helpful to really compare Lumineth to Sylvaneth anyway at this stage. They've both got the F bit at the end, but that's just Lumineth makes you feel like you've been F'd.
You got Blade Lords at 120 points, so they're kind of a nice guardian unit to your heroes.
Yeah, and they got was it the Blade Lords that have got a little bit of anger out there in terms of because of the auto hit, but they don't. There's 5 of them. They can go up to 15. Okay, at 15, but they're an expensive 15-man unit.
Yeah.
And the damage is not that great when as in it's not. Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do about that.
No, they're like, because it's like one attack auto hitting. It's it's not great.
Put it this way, I'd quite happily put 15 half guard up against them.
Well, they get the flurry of blows, which is really good, but they get an attack equal to
I'd quite happily put 15 half guard against them if I get to attack first.
Yeah, of course you will. They're not.
Do you understand me? I mean,
they're not.
They will die.
Surviving.
They will die, won't they?
You've gone like way past them.
I have gone way past them.
You're just
flipping
through
the book. Let's have a little bit of a talk about the army overall then. As he flops over the book, talking about Lumineth Realm Lords, because I think we've covered that book, and this would be a good place to end up. Whoa, Lumineth Realm Lords as a faction. Where does this leave them for you? You know, there was I tell you what, let's take it pre this faction. Heavy dependence on Teclis. We've talked about that. You've built some lists out using the Stone Guard.
Yeah.
Now you've got a million other options available to you.
Okay, I think this is a conversation where you can't win. Everybody is very strongly set on their opinion of this army.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few games with them.
Yeah.
And pre this book, they were an extremely powerful army. I am not going to deny that they had a lot of utility, a lot of power, and can do a lot of things. They were not unbeatable, as some people say. You have beaten them. I think you beat them with Orcs. You got very close. Oh no, that was Daughters you were playing with Sylvaneth. But they can be beaten. They are hard to beat. I will warrant that. The tools that Teclis brings is extreme. But if you can single him out, if you can destroy him, then you're off to a good start. I know I don't play the super competitive list with the 40 archers.
Yeah.
And I know that's what people play for the uber competitiveness. And maybe if we were doing that, it would be harder. But still, they were powerful, but they weren't unbeatable.
Yeah.
This book has, whilst it has added a lot of tools to their arsenal, again, I still think they're an expensive army. They are very low model count. They do not forgive bad play. If you get something out of position, it can easily go down, and they can be removed, much like High Elves from Old Fantasy.
Yeah.
But they play like High Elves should play. Super elite, super powerful, uber magic.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Really the question mark is, do the War Scrolls make sense to me? Absolutely, because they're high elves.
Yes.
Yeah, and they should be the best. Simple as that. And I'm not a high elf fan. I'm saying that from a lore point of view. You know, they are the ultimate creatures on the planet. You know, maybe Stormcast Eternals from a Sigmar point of view, but Stormcast are still, you know, for me, need some love, if you know what I mean. So let's park that for a second. But in terms of what's on the table, what's fighting, these guys should be up there as the best War Scrolls in the game.
Yeah.
The only question then jumps into it is, how much do they cost? You know, and that's the balancing act. And I think the thing is, I'd rather a book start with great War Scrolls that feel in line with what the army should be, and Games Workshop work around FAQs, balancing them out in terms of cost, than have pretty, you know, mediocre or average War Scrolls, and then them just making High Elves cheap as chips, and then it doesn't feel like the army. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it should feel elite. It should feel powerful. It should feel overwhelming to go up against them. And that's all in the War Scroll. That's reflected in the War Scrolls.
Yeah.
If there's work to be done to balance them, then it can be done in the point cost.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are drawing their opinions on this army without having played a single game against them.
Yeah,
And
well, you know, there's
games,
TTS games going off out there, but we all know they're not quite the same.
They're not quite the same. And watching games against them is very different to playing games against them. They are hard to beat and they are hard to get your head around, but once you do get your head around them, there are ways of dealing with them.
I think the thing is you know, you say they're kind of, you know, they're an unforgiving army, but they've started to build some mechanics in, like the pile-in rule means you can make mistakes and get away from those mistakes. That is the issue, I think, is if they turn into
can and you can't, because no matter, like, you can make less attacks on them, but if they don't charge, they can still only pile in 3 inches. So yes, you can pile in 3 inches away, but you still get to pile in because you've made a charge. So you just close the 3-inch gap and still attack them. It's only when they get the 6-inch that it
but you know, you
good.
tag a unit. I mean, to have done that, you know, sorry, So I was going to say, if you charge and tag a unit, you can then move 6 inches away anyway, can't you? So I was trying to think of an instance where retreating 3 inches is enough to reduce, you know, the combat effectiveness of your opponent. It certainly stops your opponent wrapping around you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It stops your opponent wrapping around you, but you will never, when receiving the charge, you will never get out of combat because they will always be able to pile in 3 inches and still attack you.
Yeah.
The real power to it comes with the 6-inch where you can charge in and then pile out of combat instantly to gain the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Which, you know, tabletops are, by the time you've taken terrain, models, and stuff, that's not going to be a massive game changer.
No.
Because you need the room to do that. You know, it's a bit like the Stone Guard pushback. It's a brilliant rule, but it doesn't happen every time because it doesn't make that much of a difference every time.
Yeah, and I think that's where kind of the battalion comes in to make it stronger, where they always count as charging. So if you do charge, they can pile 6 inches out.
Okay.
So I think the army has merit, and it is a very good army, but it can be beaten, and there are ways to beat it. We've been playing games and we're looking at it, and they can be beaten. I personally don't play the 40 archers, 40 spearmen Teclis list, because to me that's not how the fluff of the army is meant to be, because, you know, they are high elves, they are meant to be outmatched in bodies. That's why I kind of like the 10-man units.
Yeah, but you know, if you're going for tournament play, then you're going to do that.
If you're going for tournament play, of course, go for it. Like, that's how they should be in tournaments. Whether this book changes that meta or not, I'm not sure. Whether the wind creatures are going to be enough to say, okay, well, I'm going to drop a unit of 20 archers to take some of the wind stuff.
I think this is the thing.
Some of the ballistas.
And that's the whole point, is there's a lot of powerful war scrolls in there. There's not a lot of room when it comes to adding up to 2,000 points.
Yeah.
So what you might start from a narrative player's point of view is, I'm only going to take the wind faction. I'm only going to take Stone Guard. I'm going to take all of them. You know, but there's not a lot of room.
No, and this, when you take into like Teclis, who is almost 50% of your army.
Yeah, the danger is looking at a book and go, they've got access to all of that. Yeah, not in a 2,000 point list they haven't.
Yeah.
That's the point. You know, you've got to try and mishmash it together. Look, I think they are, and I don't play them, But I think they're a really exciting army. I think they're a challenging army. I think they're dynamic. I think they have a million options available to them. I'm extremely jealous I don't play them. I would like something like that in my armies. But, you know, patience is a virtue. And I want mine now. So, Sylvaneth, new units, please.
Yeah.
Right. I tell you what, folks. We're going to call it an end at that. Thank you very much for our patrons who've joined us. There goes somebody at the front door. Without your support, none of this would be possible. And, of course, we didn't say this at the start, but big thank you to Games Workshop for sending copies along to us. They're incredibly appreciated and always help and inform our games. We've got to go set up for a battle report.
Yep.
Lumineth.
Yep.
Versus Sylvaneth.
Be interesting.
And then we will be re-racking for the first Caradron Overlords battle report we're filming for the channel. So thank you to Luke and also indirectly, but also thank you to Sam for making it possible that we have a Caradron Overlord army on the table. It's actually Luke's army, but because he can't film battle reports right now or play real games, he has loaned the army to the channel. So we're going to be playing the Caradron Overlord. It's a human Caradron Overlord faction.
I'm sure a lot of people
created by Sam. If you've followed the channel for ages, you will have seen these models.
Beautiful models.
Absolutely gorgeous models. So look out for those. Other than that, thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the comments, pop along to Patreon, check all our exclusive content out, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Oh, live battle report tomorrow on TTS.
Yes.
Luke's in the tournament. Have fun with that.
See ya.
This video is made possible by our patrons. If you want to know more about how to support us, click on the link to the right.